Let's see. This is Daniel Posney, and this is Shifting Perspectives. And today, I was feeling like wanting to talk about how I healed my procrastination. And I did a little meditation on this. I come up with some really good, or Spirit came up with some really good information about this. So first, I want to share with you what procrastination has done in my life. It's pushed off things that I felt like I really needed to do, or that had some responsibility or some obligation with them, and I would push it off, and then not deal with it, and it would bite me later on. So those kind of things kind of were in the back of my mind. Oh, I should have done that, and I had some guilt about that. And then there are some other things that I thought they were the same kind of situation, that I should do these things and I should feel some guilt about these things. Like some things that I thought were things that I just were too fearful of completing. And those are possibly true, that there are some things that, if I don't complete this thing, if I procrastinate about it, I don't complete it, then I can't fail. So that must have been some kind of little program in my mind, that if you just keep on doing a lot of things but never completing anything, wow, you've done a lot, but you've never failed. Except I failed at completing these things. So I wanted to look at that, to see where that line is, and how I can start to look at and heal this procrastination. And one of the things that comes up is the procrastination my mind starts to take over, like it does with a lot of things, and it starts to give a label or give some judgment about who I am because of this. And one of the first things it says is, you're lazy, you should take this responsibility, and you've got these obligations. And, I had already been in the theme of guilt and obligation in my life in the past. So it's really kind of, when that shows up, it's really kind of a poignant moment for me to look at. Okay, am I feeling this obligation because this is something that I need to heal? Or is it something that I really want to look at? So like, here's something that came up in my life years ago. I really wanted to work with people, and I really wanted to get into more counseling work, or helping people through their emotional traumas and that kind of thing. And my thought was is that I should go to school and become a psychologist. And I procrastinated on that, and I didn't follow through. And I'm sure I could have just busted my butt and really got the resources and the grants and whatever I needed to get into school to do that. But for some reason, I just didn't have the motivation for it. And now that I look back on that, it wouldn't have been the right thing for me. It would have been kind of the obligation, or what society would think me as qualified. And then I would get validation from that. So on my mind's end of things, it seemed like the best thing to do, but my heart just wasn't in it. And for a little bit, I thought, oh man, maybe I lost my chance, or I should have pulled the trigger on this one. But again, 10, 12, 15 years later, I'm looking back on this and going, that wasn't really the right decision for me. Because what I see now in the work that I do, I have psychologists and psychiatrists in session. So I realize now that would have left me wondering what else there was out there beyond the scope of my education and my license as a psychologist. So for some of the people that had been in session with me, it's kind of opened them up to different possibilities and different perspectives on things that wasn't so clinical or logical. So that's how I've been. So that kind of fit my mold a little bit better. So some of the shadows that go on with this procrastination is, like I talked about, not completing things and this fear of failure. So that's one little piece that could be kind of playing into why I was procrastinating. And the other one is, and it all depends on the situation, but it could be a fear of upsetting someone. Like I would have this thing about, okay, I know I need to go talk to this person, or maybe like in my past relationship with my ex-wife, I need to have this talk with her. And it's just stirring up in my chest and in my heart. I've got to be totally honest. And the fear was that I'm going to lose love from this person. I'm going to lose whatever little amount of friendship that we once had. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But that's one thing, is that I'm procrastinating having this conversation or this meeting with this person. But really, what it amounts to is the feeling behind it. That. So if you really look at it, what I was in fear of is the fear of rejection. And that's kind of been the thing that I was working on: fear of rejection, fear of upsetting someone and losing their love. But if it's in front of me, then that is something that I want to look at. And to keep on running away from it, I've met people that have run away from it even more than I had, where it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is just built up into this huge thing. And, just procrastination is just, you can't even move anymore. So that was one thing, is that just fear of rejection is the big one. Fear of loss. If I do this thing, I don't want to do it because I'm going to lose this job, or I'm going to lose this part of my life or something. And like you probably know, when you let go of something that's not really in alignment with you, that you have a strong feeling with, it doesn't really feel great to you, it's making room for something even more amazing. And that can be a relationship, that can be a job, that can be, so many different parts of our life. So now we move into the truth of this, and I've been kind of touching on this while I'm talking, but one truth of this is, so this energy inside of us that wants to take action and not procrastinate and start doing things, taking responsibility, being inventive, going out there and making mistakes, is a masculine energy. And for me, it was kind of like, I didn't quite have that masculine energy in that way activated in me. I'm a complete man and heterosexual male, but there's this, what they might call it, divine or sacred masculine, this kind of grounded in that taking action energy that I just didn't quite have activated. And it kind of happens when, like in my environment was, my dad died when I was 12. I didn't really have great role models until later. So I was kind of looking out in the world to what that masculinity looked like. So it took me a while to kind of grab onto that and activate that. So if you don't really have a good model for that, you don't really know you're missing anything until something starts to kind of kick up like this, like I can't make a freaking decision to save my life. So that's one thing, is that there could be a masculine energy block. And I've worked with people that they have a marriage on this side and they have a lover on this side, and they don't know if they should stay in the marriage or stay with the lover, and they can't make a decision either way. So they're like frozen in the middle, not able to make a decision. And that's where that procrastination can just build up, where both of these partners that he's got can't rely on this guy and can't trust him because he can't make a decision either way. And they're really waiting for him to make just say no or yes or something. So that can really boil up into, creating avalanches in our life. The other thing, that the reason why a procrastination can happen, is that the feeling can no longer be in alignment. And what I mean by that is alignment with your heart, with how you feel, your soul. It seemed like a good idea at the time, or maybe I was crafting something and I got into it, and then I just never finished the craft. Maybe I'm making a didgeridoo or some kind of instrument or something, and I got into it and then I got distracted. Well, it seemed like the right thing at the time, but now it's not the right thing anymore. And I came to a little realization about that. Sometimes things don't need to be done in the physical. And sometimes I needed to kind of just really just have the thought about creating. And that's all I needed. That's all me as a divine being of light needed, is just to have the thought. Just the intention of that does like the whole thing. The whole physical manifestation of this thing that I feel I need to do is just playing in the physical world. So really all I need to do is just have a thought about it, have an intention about it. And then it's kind of, you ever had that time when you had this great idea, some invention or some idea or something, and you start to put it in process, And then a day later, someone's got the same freaking idea. And you're left there going, oh man, I wasn't fast enough on pulling the trigger. But that to me is, I had the idea that this idea, this invention, or whatever it is, will serve people in a way. And if my purpose is to serve people, then it doesn't really matter that I created this thing, but I had the intention to create it to make this service or make this offering. And if someone else does it, now I'm not wrapped up into it in an egoic way. I'm happy that somebody created. If we can stay in that place, then we're just going to bless whoever comes up with the idea along with us. Let's see. I was looking at, the reason why this came in was because Abraham Hicks in my email, I think it was yesterday, said, what is the definition of procrastination? And they say, it means I can feel within my energy sensor that this action is not in perfect alignment at this time. So I'll say that again. I can feel within my energy sensor, which your body is, that this action is not in perfect alignment at this time. And that's where it plays into, well, yeah, but I've got this obligation, or yeah, but I should do this. But you're not, unless you can see through God's eyes, you're not seeing the whole picture, that you not doing this is actually going to serve somebody better than you doing it. Or you not doing this is going to allow other people to do for themselves. So there's so many different avenues to this. The other thing is, in relation to the last one, is something shifted that has created the task to not be necessary. Again, it seemed like if I don't do this, I need to fix this situation. But there was a delay in there somehow. Maybe there's a traffic accident that got in the way of me getting to someplace, or the plane flight got canceled, or whatever caused me not to follow through on this thing that I felt I needed to do. But because you weren't there, something else came in that was even better than what you thought possible. So that procrastination can really, it's really the feeling inside of you that something is not right. I'm not really excited about this. And if we stay in this energy of doing what's exciting to us, then we rarely experience procrastination, because we make our decisions from how we feel in our body, because the consciousness of the body knows the best, a feeling in our heart, and our emotions. So this is the reason why it's a great idea, a great thing to have, is emotional health, because your emotional health is your sensor. And how you emotionally feel about something is your indicator to go forward or to pull back on something. And when you're procrastinating, that word has some energy behind it that's a negative condition or something. But it's a feeling that you're having that something's not quite right about this. The other thing is that it might not be the right season. And what I mean by that is that, you were born in the alignment of certain planets. There's certain seasons of our life, related to, summer, spring, winter, and fall. And there are certain seasons and cycles in women's menstrual period. So for a woman, it's not the right time to go out and do and take action when they're on their moon, stuff like that. And everybody has this cycle, day-to-day cycle, weekly, monthly, and annual cycles and life cycles. So you might be feeling something that your brain is telling you it's the right thing to do, but something deep inside of you on a soul level or an energetic level is trying to tell you, just hold off. And so many times I think about, like, if I would have just got a strong slap in the face or grabbing my shirt, just hold on, Daniel, just don't go forward so quickly. And then the last one is about the doing is not necessarily required. And that's one that kind of tweaks my mind a little bit. And so, what do you mean doing is not required? Well, in this practical, pragmatic world of physicality, we must do things, we must create things and take action. It's a physical world, it's true. And the other thing that's true is that it's all energetic. So me just having the intention of doing something goes a long way to going towards the feeling that I'm going for. So if I really look at that, I'm looking towards a feeling and not necessarily the physical thing, then I get closer to getting what I want when I focus on the feeling. So the next part is how I healed this. Let's see. I realized that my feeling was true. And I spent a lot of time brushing off my feelings because I was so much in my head. At that time, I was a technician, I was a programmer for a while, I was in the Navy in the 80s. And that feeling thing didn't really make a lot of sense in what I was doing. It did, but I just kind of bypassed it. So when you bypass that so much, you're not really in, it's like a muscle that hasn't been used. But now I've used that muscle so much that I'm really in tune with how I feel about something. And it can really be strong in my life that I don't feel right about doing this. And at the same time, there's this old history of guilt and obligation. So you can see what I go through sometimes is knowing that I don't feel really in alignment with this, and I'm dealing with the guilt and obligation from the past. So it's a dynamic that was kind of meant to be married together. So I talked about the psychology career that I was thinking about. And now trust the feelings. I release any thought my mind has about the situation. So again, my mind has a certain judgment about anything in my life and what's going on and how somebody says something or what I think I should do. My mind has certain judgments about everything. And if I hold back and I realize that all those thoughts are probably not true, that it's the feelings that I have about it that are more true than my thoughts. Guilt and obligation is part of that. And healing that and focusing on what is exciting to me. And that's the other part of this is that, when I focus on what's exciting to me, I have very little procrastination. If I'm really feeling into what's really in alignment for me and what's exciting to me, then there's not going to be any procrastination because it's something I'm really excited about doing. And yes, it can be like physical tasks. Like the other day, I had to move a big stack of firewood, down to the sweat lodge, which is, 108 steps down to the sweat lodge. And, it's a lot of labor, a lot of work, but I was excited about doing it. I don't know why. It felt really good to me. Logically, my mind said, let's save that for another day. But that was actually something that I was excited about because I like kind of getting into that. So it's taken me a while to get to that place, but the feeling what is in alignment to me, what's really exciting to me is what I focus on. And there is some, I guess you call them little obstacles that come in the way when you're coming from guilt and obligation into excitement, is that you're gonna kind of piss off some people along the way because you're maybe not going to feel good about going to that party or hanging out with that person. But that's kind of the little bit of a struggle that kind of gets you back into alignment. So that's part of the journey. I think that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I hope you have a blessed day. I thank you and I love you. Bye-bye.